Right.
Oh my God, I have nurse markup.
If you grew up in the 60s or 70s and didn't do drugs, I don't trust you. In the Weeds is beyond excited to sit down with cultivation legend Danny Vinkovetsky, A.K.A. Danny Danko. When you think of strain experts, the name Danny Danko has to be one of the first names to come to mind. Danny, the editor at Northeast Leaf magazine and host at Grow Bud Yourself, after nearly spending 20 years as a writer, photographer, and senior cultivation editor at High Times magazine, he helped to pioneer the cannabis industry with his popular editorial articles and Free Weed podcast. Since 2005, Danny has chosen the annual Top 10 Strains for High Times in addition to being the creator and founder of the High Times Seed Bank Hall of Fame. Danny is a world-renowned cannabis cultivation expert, judge, speaker, and educator. Danko has written multiple books on cannabis cultivation, the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains. His second book, Cannabis, A Beginner's Guide to Growing Marijuana, was released in 2018. Danko has visited and profiled some of the largest growers and cannabis farms in the world. He's a devoted cannabis activist, and his mission is to inspire and empower as many people as possible to grow their own cannabis. Tune in April 7th at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio sits down with the legendary Danny Danko to hear his amazing story. Zoom live with us at www.facebook.com/Prohibition Talk Radio. And you can find all of our archives on YouTube.
All right, we are back, guys. Another week of In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. I don't know if I'm going to be able to contain myself this week. I'm going to fan geek a little bit, Danny. I'm sorry. We always talk about fan geeking on our show. We really try hard not to. But, guys, we've had some great guests on our shows, which has been amazing. We're very lucky to have Danny Danko join us today of Northeast Leaf Magazine and Grow Bud Yourself podcast, right? So we're really excited to talk to Danny, hear his story. I want to say hi to our team really quick before we get started. I want to give a big shout out to Sherry Tuckus from the Green Nurse. Thank you, Sherry, for being with us again today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. It's always an honor and a privilege to be In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. We're doing some fun stuff. So excited for the show.
So today, guys, the topic of the day for Can Talk was going to be autism. We've had some major computer issues and a huge event we decided to plan for 420, which we're going to touch base on. So we're a little bit behind ourselves today. So we're going to backlog a little bit, but we'll put the autism video up tomorrow so you guys can find it as well. I want to say hi to Timothy Fair from Vermont Cannabis Solutions, our legal attorney here on the show. Excited to have you back, Tim.
Hello, Danny.
Tim's also been, I'm pretty sure, pretty busy here in Vermont with our new legalization happening. So big props to Tim for all the work he's done here. And then we got our big buddy Justin C out in California, hitting the beach, hitting the waves, smoking some weed for us. He's has another great strain of the week for us, guys. Today we're talking about gelato, one of my favorites, right? So I think everybody really enjoys gelato.
Right here.
Yeah, right. Everybody's like,
literally, there's a gelato right here.
So another great review from Justin. I can't wait to share with you guys. They're awesome, as most of you guys know. But now we're going to talk to Danny, the man, right? So the man, the myth, the legend. If you've ever grabbed the high times, or if you've ever, been involved in cannabis prior to legalization, if you don't know Danny Danko, I don't know who you are, right? You've been a legend in our underground cannabis community for many years, right? I'm just excited to see all your new projects, right? Because now you're with Northeast Leaf. You're doing the Grow Bud Yourself podcast. But really, everybody knows you from the books, right? They know all your writings, but I want to know who Danny is, right? Let's talk about Danny. So, Danny, what's really interesting is how do people get in our industry, right? We talk about it all the time. People ask us, how do we get in the industry? How do we get involved? How do we start? How did you get in the industry? Like, how did this culture become you?
Yeah, that's a good one. I was really into it, obviously. From a young age, I was really drawn to cannabis. It felt right for me. It felt like it did something that other things didn't, and in a positive manner for the most part, aside from, the prohibition aspect of it. And then, little by little started getting more political about it after, being subject to law enforcement, overreach and all of that. And going to some Boston Freedom rallies. I grew up in Boston, and going to those rallies and being involved with MassCan and that whole organization and how things were back then. There was a lot of arrests. It was rough. And so that, along with reading The Emperor Wears No Clothes by Jack Herer, and also Shattered Lives by Miki Norris and Chris Conrad, those books really galvanized me and made me more political about it. And then I had the opportunity to work for a hemp clothing company called Headcase, where we made baseball hats out of hemp in New Jersey. And we were closely affiliated with High Times. We were the only two real cannabis companies on the East Coast at the time. And so I made friends over there, and I was growing also as well. And I think it didn't hurt that I had really good bud and started playing for the softball team. And my advice is always just to get your foot in the door. I mean, I literally answered the phone, broke down boxes. I helped them move from one office to another. I just really wanted to be involved, and I wanted to learn about publishing and cannabis and having a legitimate, business that pays taxes and makes money and hires employees and all of that. And I learned it all kind of based on just getting my foot in the door and working my way up as positions opened up. And so to me, that's the advice I always give, is get your foot in the door. If you want to be a cultivator, start off as a trimmer, start at the bottom and work your way up. That's really, to me, the best way to actually know what's really going on in a business anyway.
Right. Exactly. Especially in an industry like ours, where it's changing daily, it seems like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the more, broad your knowledge is, if you understand marketing and publishing and sales and all those things, the less you'll have to rely on other people. And there's obviously some unreliable people out there. And so it is important to keep your business close and diversify as much as you can your knowledge of all the aspects of business. Right.
So writing for High Times, right? You write the top 10 strains of the year, right? You do the seed Hall of Fame, right? How do you get involved in that stuff? I mean, you go from this to that, and next thing you know, you're writing. What was it, 2005? You started with High Times, correct?
Well, I started earlier. I started full time in 2002, and like I said, I was just like answering the phones and that kind of thing. And little by little, positions opened up. A position opened up in products, so I learned about book sales and publishing and that kind of thing, and circulation a little bit as well, because it helps to understand how magazines are printed, what it costs, what the ink costs, and all of those things, and how much you need in advertising. And then actually what happened was Kyle Cushman moved from New York to California, and the position opened up writing. And at the time I was writing, but not really aware that I could basically turn that into a career. But, he basically said, you could do this. And I tried it and just kept going. I had a deadline every month, and I just tried to keep meeting that deadline and writing about things I was interested in, new strains, new grow techniques, more natural grow techniques as well, ways of growing the plant that are the least intrusive, I guess, on the plant as well. And just writing things I wanted to read, that's really what it boiled down to. And those deadlines turned into years and years of traveling around and going and visiting people's gardens and going into Cannabis Cup and events in Spain and Vancouver and Montreal and all over the world, and Amsterdam, obviously, and really just gaining knowledge and constantly being aware that there's more to learn. I think that helped me a lot as well. And no one's an expert. We're only scratching the surface of what this plant is capable of medicinally and otherwise. So I think it's important just to keep learning and be humble in that way about what you're able to learn, and understand that you might be wrong, and correct yourself if you are.
I love that. I love that idea. I try to do the same thing. I live the life to learn something new every day, right? I think, like you said, once you think you knew it all, you're done, right? You're ruined, right?
And there's more than one way to grow the plant, and there's more than one way to be part of the industry, and there's a lane to fill. And so, you find your lane and you fill it and take it from there.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the more I learn about the plant, the more I realize I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And the other thing too, the more blanket statements I hear people make about the plant, the more I think to myself, the plant's going to show us what the truth is.
Mm-hmm.
And things
exactly.
can change.
Hey guys, I'm sorry I'm late joining the show. I had to take care of I had to take care of one of my plants. I needed to go off the drying rack into a curing container.
Right. While we're talking about growing and weed and everything else.
Well,
hey, everybody.
This is why I'm late, because I was taking this off the rack and putting it in here so it can cure.
Well, let's say hi to you properly, Obi Weed. Everybody say hi to Obi Weed Kenobi. He is our grow coach for our Green Nurse on the Grow new video series. We're shooting with the Green Nurse Sherry here. We are taking the bud grower tent and we're putting it through its grow cycle, I guess, seeing how it works for us. And we popped a little do-si-do baby. We're about, what are we on, week 4 now, guys, of videoing. So we're going to start getting all these videos hammered out for 420.
Joe, I keep everything notes, but I just don't usually refer to them often. I mean, Danny will tell you after so many years, it just kind of gets to be automatonic.
You just keep it in your head, right? But anyways, we're glad to have you back, Obi Weed. We were honored enough to help you trim some of that bud, so I can't wait to try it when next time we get up there this weekend to shoot week 5, right? So here we are.
We should be able to have at least maybe a couple of small sample buds ready for this weekend. I'm hoping anyway.
How about
that'd be nice.
Blunts?
But anyways, here we are.
You know how much you like blunts, Obi Weed.
You know me.
Not a lot of people can handle the blunt, right? But now what's interesting about Danny, right? This is the one thing I really want to talk to you about, Danny, is not too many people have had the lifespan in cannabis that you had, right? Most people have gotten in the industry recently. Most people haven't been around long enough to see where it's progressed to. You're 30 years into this now, right? What's the biggest differences that you've seen throughout the decades? I mean, obviously 30 years ago, it's a completely different scene than today, right?
Yeah, I mean, very, very different. At the time, really no laws in our favor for the most part, as far as places to be free. Amsterdam was the one oasis in those days where you could actually go and have any sort of sense of cannabis freedom. And so a lot of that has changed. Less people in jail, although people obviously still remain locked up. I hear more and more positive stories and less negative stories. I mean, in those early days, like I mentioned, answering the phone at High Times, I mean, some of those days were really rough because people would call us from jail, or in really tough situations where they needed a lawyer and they didn't know who to turn to. And hopefully, that's less and less. I mean, that's the whole point of all of this legalization. And people complain about the regulations and the taxes and the licensing and all of that. And those are valid concerns, but if you look back 30 years plus, it was war. You know what I mean? People were going to jail. People's lives were being ruined. Their homes were raided, and it was very different. So that's changed. Obviously, the quality of the cannabis has changed. So much has changed with concentrates, edibles. I mean, all we had were brownies back then, and now, this is a huge part of the marketplace. So the research has changed. The labs, having labs that are able to test for pesticide, for overfeeding, for all the things that we don't want in our medicines, is very important, because we were at the mercy of whoever we got our cannabis from, and even the government was spraying cannabis with paraquat and all kinds of things. So you really didn't know what you were getting back then, and so that's changed a lot. And so a lot of positive steps have been made. Obviously, we're dealing with all the stuff, the middle ground of an industry that's going from the underground out of the underground. So of course the banking situation needs to change, and expungement situation, social equity, actual funding for those programs. Although, here in New York, where I am, we just passed an incredible law, which really hopefully will go towards other states, and be a more positive change, I think, for other states, and any kind of federal legalization that we're looking at in the future. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to encompass everything that's changed in 30 years. It's wild. But as you mentioned, I was there, but there were people way before me that paved the way way before, too numerous to mention. So, I take no credit for any of it, except just whatever I was able to teach people about strains and cultivation and all that. I think the information is valuable. The plant is the center of it all, and I'm just trying to give back what the plant has given to me, and improve the quality for people in general. So, if that's the case, I think mission accomplished in a lot of ways. I think High Times had a tremendous amount to do with that, or at least the past sort of entities of High Times. But just improving the quality of cannabis and the variety as well. I think that's really important. Especially now that we're breaking it down for medicinal purposes and really figuring out what these cannabinoids do in response to each other, in conjunction with terpenoids and flavonoids and cannabinoids and all of it. So there's a lot of science, and that's the most exciting part for me, aside from the legality and the lack of, less people going to jail and having their lives ruined.
Right. I know it's hard to say that, are we going in the positive direction? Do you like what we see? I mean, I know it's hard to say no, but in the whole compass, I mean, you've been in this industry, you're the grassroots guys, you live with the grassroots guys. We seem to have the corporate entities now. We have the grassroots entities. Obviously we have a little, bitter wars going back and forth of trying to keep the little guys involved, and obviously the corporate's going after everything. Do you like where we're going? Do you like the landscape as it's unfolding, or do you think we need to pay attention to a few other things that no one's talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that there's a legalization that I envision that isn't where we're at yet. Obviously, I want to be able to go to a farmer's market and purchase jars of cannabis grown by farmers locally, with minimal impact on the earth and all of that. I want to be able to go to a co-op or grow my own, which the New York law does allow for a certain amount of plants to be grown. I think those things are very important. If people aren't interested in being part of the cannabis industry, they don't have to be, and if you're worried about taxes and regulation, you don't necessarily have to be a part of all of that. If you want to just grow your own, or like I said, go to a farmer's market type place or a co-op where people are growing for each other, but in small batches. And I think that's a legitimate option for people like us who will pay a little extra even for a product like that. But at the same time, these corporate cannabis entities have a right to exist. And if people want a simple solution, and they don't care for as much of a connoisseur level or aficionado level of cannabis, that's perfectly within their rights to want to go to a dispensary and purchase cannabis from them. I think it's just like the beer or cigar or wine industry. There's a market for the masses, and then there's a market for the people who are connoisseurs or aficionados or medical patients who are just interested in a higher quality cannabis product. And as long as all of those things are allowed to exist, I think we're heading in the right direction. In some states where you can only purchase at a dispensary and there is no grow your own, I think that's, a step in the right direction, meaning away from criminalization and prohibition, but it's not necessarily the best step, because I do think we need to preserve the right of people to grow their own and also just to purchase something local and small batch.
Yeah. What happened in New York this last couple of weeks has been amazing, especially when we were looking at the fact that you guys might not be able to grow your own, right? At least we got that in the bill now. So how do you feel about New York's movement forward?
I think it's amazing. I'm very excited. I'm kind of almost, I would say, still in shock, to be honest, because we were kind of prepared to accept less in a lot of ways, because it's been 8 years since the bill was proposed, and the governor's original idea did not have home grow, did not have consumption lounges, did very little for social equity, except maybe a little bit of lip service. But we don't want lip service when it comes to that. We want actual funding that goes directly to communities that have been adversely affected by the war on drugs. So I'm overjoyed by what we were actually able to accomplish. His political losses, as far as his creepiness and his alleged
issues,
and the nursing home situation that he was dealing with, I think he was very willing to go a little further with this, because he knew that it would take the bad news out of the paper, and I guess it worked. I don't know. I mean, he's still a creepy guy who let people die in the nursing homes, but he legalized cannabis also, and his loss is our gain, because we were actually able to get a better bill out of it. And so I'm overjoyed, to be honest. It's hard to really put into words. It's going to be a while before we can go to a store, or before even we can grow our own, but we've been waiting for so long that just setting that into motion is huge. And I think it's going to be a game changer for the whole East Coast, and I think hopefully nationally. I think at this point, more than a third of the US population lives in states with completely legal adult use of cannabis, and that's going to force a federal change of some kind, and they're talking about that as well. So we're definitely heading in the right direction. We couldn't be moving fast enough for me, but we've been waiting a long time, so
it's never fast enough, but at least we don't have to hide anymore,
No, that's true. Very true.
I mean, even the NYPD put out a notice that says you can smoke wherever people are smoking tobacco. I mean, it's
I'm talking about the growing side. As a grower, I've been growing a long time, and I've been hiding forever. And there's we've had, as you're a grower as well, so you understand, we have all these victories that we have from time to time, but we just can't share them until now. Like now we can actually come out of the shadows. Now I can be out there consulting people and coaching people through their grows, because I have set a legal amount in my state and I'm adhering to it. So I don't have to worry about that side of things. And so now I can say, hey, I actually know what I'm doing. Can I help you? And it's a breath of fresh air for us. I mean, yes, it's slow, and yes, we're only allowed 3 plants, which isn't very much, but 3 plants is better than no plants, and I'm not hiding anymore.
Right.
No,
and in a household, that adds up to 6 plants, mature, and 6 younger plants. So there's 12. And from a cultivation background too, the limit is on the amount of plants, but not on the size of the plants.
Yes, exactly.
just grow bigger plants. It's as simple as that.
I have a 3x5 and I fill it with 2.
There you go. Yeah,
Right.
You just a little bit longer vegging time, a bigger container, and you just grow bigger plants. And you're allowed to do it legally. I think that's a huge step in the right direction.
Especially for the patients, right? Especially for these patients that have been suffering from medical maltreatment. I hate to say that way, but really, honestly, we've talked to so many guests who've come on the show who've just been put through the medical system and just written script after script after script on top of script after script after script, where these guys are using 10, 20 medications. Sherry, I mean, you were one of these people, right?
Over 18 pharmaceuticals at one point. The traditional system, I mean, that's the part that was really, really tough. And I share all the time, and a lot of nurses share it too. We believe that if nurses and doctors had an understanding of the clinical endocannabinoid system, that so many patients wouldn't have suffered, and that includes us. If someone had knew about the endocannabinoid system, they would have offered me cannabis sooner, by the time I was on my 6th pharmaceutical, as opposed to waiting till I got to 18. So really, it's like what we're doing, what's happening in the system is we're traumatizing our patients with drugs and procedures. If there's a problem, let's just cut it out and give you a drug, right? So
yeah, fortunately.
Yeah, so what we're doing as nurses is we're really shedding the light on, trying to keep you out of the hospital, trying to teach you about this most important system, the system that's the most important system in your body that regulates everything. Everything that we do or don't do in our lives either supports it or doesn't. And doctors and nurses, health professionals do have a moral, legal, ethical obligation to know that. And that's why we're so passionate about what we do as cannabis nurses.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the stigma gets broken because of people's health, cancers. People actually get the chance to see somebody benefit from using cannabis, right? Stoner drug, right? All these health issues. We're fat, we're lazy, we can't play sports, right? But we have gold medal Olympians, we have huge business runners, right? We have all these athletes and all sorts of different all over the world using cannabis, right? I mean, we got football players, baseball players, hockey players, basketball players. Yeah, I mean, and they're all stepping forward now into an industry and becoming part of an industry, which is unique, right? Danny, 30 years at, 20, 30 years at High Times now, right? I'm sure you have tons of stories we could talk about all day long, but I want to talk about Northeast Leaf, right? Because this is really exciting for, I think, everybody here, especially in New England. We know that the magazine is basically a nationwide magazine, correct? So tell people about the new project you're doing here.
Right. Well, so things with High Times ended basically at the beginning of the pandemic last year. And in April of 2020, I linked up with Leaf Nation, which is, they've been doing these magazines regionally for over 10 years, starting with Northwest Leaf, and then they have Alaska Leaf, California Leaf, Maryland Leaf, Oregon Leaf. And so we started Northeast Leaf, and we're actually on our 8th issue. This is our 8th one, April. It's our glass issue, beautiful cover shot of
awesome
mothership
cover.
glass. And yeah, it's really exciting for me to be back in print publishing with cannabis media, especially, in my home. I grew up in Boston. I've lived in New York for, I don't know, close to 30 years now at this point, but I went to BU. I grew up in Brookline, spent a lot of time, obviously, and I go back a lot. I have friends and family still in the area. So this region is so important to me and is changing so rapidly when it comes to cannabis. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are still interested and newbies to this. And now that it's becoming more and more legal, are becoming attracted to it. And as Sherry mentioned, the medicinal aspects of it, the endocannabinoid system, and getting themselves off of pharmaceuticals, alcohol, nicotine, any kind of harder drugs. And it's really become a big thing, I think, in the senior community and all kinds of communities, to be honest. And so we want to be the voice of the Northeast. And it's not just actually New England. New England, it's encompasses New England, but we've also got the tri-state area of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, which are all changing very rapidly all at once right now. New Jersey is also going legal, and Connecticut is following suit very quickly. Yep. So, and obviously we know that Maine is the way that Maine is right now. We have a booth up at the community bonfire up in Maine this weekend. So we'll be up there giving away free magazines. That's the other amazing thing about the magazine, is it's free. It's free to read online. It's free to pick up at a head shop or a dispensary. And it's just amazing to be a voice for the community and for the industry. I mean, we cover everything: bud tenders, strains that are available in the commercial marketplace, pretty much, stoner owners, people who are consumers and also run businesses, women in weed that are, part of the industry pushing, all of that. So yeah, it's been amazing to be part of the Leaf Nation. It's not any kind of corporate thing. It's very grassroots. It's people just like you and me putting these magazines together, and yeah, it's real exciting. It's fun. We're, like I said, this is our 8th issue, so we're not even a year old at this point, and it's nice big print mag. And we just launched a website called leafmagazines.com as well, where you can read those articles and more web only content. So
yeah, and then the Leaf magazine is all the other areas as well, combined, not only just Northeast, right?
right. Well, we have some content that we share nationally with the other magazines, and then we have our local content that pertains to New England and the tri-state area. So it's kind of a balance of national content and local content. And yeah, it feels like a homecoming for me, to be honest, like to be back. You know, I live in New York. I grew up in Boston, so it's my area. And I've always been telling people, that everybody who's been telling me for years, you know, you got to move to Colorado, you got to move to California. And I've been telling them, you know, the industry's moving east. It's coming. It'll get here eventually. And here it is, obviously, like, you know, full force. So
and
that's exciting.
trends, right? I mean,
it's exciting, you know, and it's, you know, like I said, there's a lot of newbies, and I think to be a voice for those people, to give them the 101, you know, the rundown on what is a dab, what is, you know, the difference between all these edibles, and what's the right dosage for me, and all those things. It's just a joy to help answer those questions, and also have pretty photos and beautiful layout. It's exciting.
No,
Print is not
awesome.
dead.
We've been following it since it's launched. Obviously, we're here in New England. We've had a few people on the show that are also part of the magazine, like Bobby Nuggs. So big shout out to Bobby.
Yeah,
he's
Bobby's
awesome. We love Bobby.
Bobby's a huge contributor for us. Yeah, driving force. Bobby and Bailey both are really, you know, like a dynamic duo. Great team.
Yeah.
Helping us with the Leaf, and they do
they're-
so much
they're
other
awesome.
great
We've
stuff.
had him on the show a couple months ago now. Yeah, we had him on a show a couple months ago, and he was really excited about the project. He's really excited about where he's come up and gotten himself to, which is, you know, huge props to him. And like I said, huge props to you guys. And you're pulling local talent. You're really staying within the community, which I know is hard to do, especially like you said. There's not much that's going on right now, but everything's about to blow up. You know, like you said, Connecticut, we got Rhode Island talking about it. New York just went. Pennsylvania looks like they're going to be climbing on board here soon. And it looks like we're in. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, and Tim may be arguing, but it looks like when these legalizations are happening, we're leading the way, right? You know, it's not like we're trend setting at this issue, just like what New York just did. Like 4 weeks ago, we would never have thought that bill would be anything close to what we see today, right? You know, there was no home grow. It was all these stipulations, and you know, we were just talking to Tammy Sweet, who's in New York as well, and she's a hemp farmer, and she was just right after the regulations got changed, and right before, I think, what was it, legalization happened that day, right, when we were on the show with her a couple weeks ago. So it was really interesting hearing from a hemp farmer, you know, because the regulations in New York are really kind of twacked out, right? So hopefully New York will get on pace with it. And not only are you doing the Northeast Leaf magazine, but you also have your own podcast, and you've been doing podcasts for a long time now, right?
Yeah, well, I started in 2011 with the High Times Presents Free Weed from Danny Danko. That podcast we started, I think, August of 2011. And I was just listening to podcasts at the time, and I thought, hey, this is a great way to get this information out to people for free. And just simple audio that they can listen to while they're trimming or working in the garden. And that we did until 2018, and then shut that down. And once you know, the split happened with High Times, brought it back and changed the name to Grow Bud Yourself. We've been doing that since April of 2020. And we're up to, I think, 48 episodes at this point. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's very cultivation oriented. We talk a little bit of news at the beginning, early on in the intro and stuff. And we try to have some fun and joke around. But the emphasis really is on home cultivation and improving the quality of people's home grow. So that's really been the focus. And that's been a lot of fun too, just to put that out there. If people are interested, they can go to growbudyourself.com or check us out on social media. But yeah, weekly show, we try to put it out we try to put it on Thursdays. Sometimes it comes out on Fridays, but we do our best. It has been weekly, so yeah, and a lot of fun.
I know how you feel there. We're an hour late to the party sometimes, right? But at least we're there, right? So
yeah, no, it's been amazing. I mean, obviously through the pandemic too, it's been wonderful to have these deadlines. Just something to aspire to. With the magazine, it's monthly. With the podcast, it's weekly, and so it gives me something to do. And I think hopefully people are learning from it as well. I get the feeling that some people are. So that's the kind of feedback we get. We have a Patreon page where people can join up and kind of be part of the community as well. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's really kept me busy, and hopefully, like I said, improved people's grows and
no, I think it's
final
great.
results.
Obviously, we follow you a lot. We support the shows, we support the magazine. I think what you guys are doing is great. The cover is amazing, the artwork, the content. Obviously, we have a lot of friends, like we talked about before, that are part of what's going on over there. So it's really fun. And when we had Sensi magazine here, it was great. Then they kind of dissolved and just kind of disappeared overnight in a weird way to most of the community, right? I was kind of like, they're here, they're not. And now here comes Northeast Leaf, more focused on us, our hometown heroes, which you were nominated for, right? You got a hometown hero award. Let's talk about that, right?
So, yeah. I mean, print is tough. Putting out a print magazine is not easy, and trying to appeal to people who don't necessarily even pick up magazines to read is tough. It's not something that kids under 30 are really all that into, and you really got to dazzle them. So that's what we're trying to do.
Thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of more like a cultural thing for us older people, right?
Information in there, if there's information in there and it's presented in a good way, I think people of all ages will enjoy it and benefit. And again, the fact that it's free really gives us the freedom for ourselves not to have to worry about sales of the magazine. It's really just advertiser driven. So if anybody wants to advertise, get in touch. But it's really driven by the advertisers, and they're trying to reach those people, and then we just give the magazine away for free. And I prefer that model to trying to actually, get money out of the consumer, the end user.
Well, it's got to be a tough industry just with print, anything print, right? Like there's no more telephone books, there's no more, a lot of these companies have gone onto the internet, so you don't have that hard copy. But it's really nice is to have that hard copy, right? That book in your hand, something you can actually hold and put on the shelf and resort to every now and then. So yeah. I think what you guys are doing is great. The free books is wonderful. You guys ship them all over too, so they're really readily accessible, right?
Yeah, I mean, if people have a dispensary or a head shop and want to get them delivered for free, we do them in batches of 25, 50 copies, and we're happy to send them out. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it, and it really has rekindled my joy when it comes to the cannabis industry or the cannabis space.
I'm sorry, my grinder's squeaking. It's not really intentional.
It sounded like an animal of some kind. I thought it was like I
was like, what's going on?
I'm just trying to grind up some purple punch, and my grinder's a little tacky, so it was squealing at us, and it wasn't deliberate, I can assure you.
You know where the
I was wondering what's going on.
I thought there was a bird in distress.
My hands are sticky. I'm breaking up ganja.
That's all right.
Oh man, I didn't know what was going on. My kid just ran in, and he's like, "We're watching you on YouTube." Freaking guys. All right. So the magazine, guys, you can find anywhere. The Grow Bud Yourself podcast is easily accessible. The magazine is a beautiful magazine. I really like what you've done with it and all the work that's going into it. So, one question I want to ask you, and you can answer if you want. High Times, man, what's been going on there for the last couple of years? It seems like there's ups and downs, and I know that there's no really bad blood there. But do you think High Times is going to survive? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Because we've seen the ups and downs. We've seen them kind of sell off and buy more stuff, and it's every day it seems like they're doing something different.
Yeah, I mean, I had an amazing run over there. I had, I would say, 15, 16 years of just incredible time. And then they underwent a sale. They were sold to a group of investors, and they had a different vision, I think, for what they wanted to do with the company. The first thing is they wanted to move it to LA. And, like I said, I wanted to stay in New York. So, I think they had a different vision. I think they did not see print as necessarily a hugely viable way to continue in cannabis. And I think they wanted to pivot into actually purchasing dispensaries and distributing cannabis and things like that. So, they had basically a different business model in mind. And they moved offices from New York to LA. And after that, I was kind of part-time, just contributing some editorial. And then once the pandemic hit, that's when, they decided they were going to furlough people as employees. So that's, for me personally, what happened. But I would say just that they went in a different direction, and they're trying to go public as well, which I don't know nothing about that kind of level of finance or any of that type of stuff. To me, it was like a family company that I grew up as a part of, and really just wanted to be a part of in any way, shape, or form, because I was a reader before I was an employee. And the company took me around the world. I literally traveled all over the world. I racked up a million miles of travel to some of the most amazing parts of the world to smoke free weed from the people in those places, and participate in incredible events all over the world. So I have nothing but good things to say about my time there. The last couple of years were not so great for me, just on a personal level, like I said, because they were moving in a different direction, and I think I wasn't really part of that direction so much. And that didn't feel great, but at the same time, things run their course, and I think my time there, like I said, I had an amazing time, and then not so great last couple of years, but it allowed me to see that there's, during that time when I started there, they were, like I said, one of the few companies in the industry that existed. And by the time we parted ways, there was hundreds, if not thousands, of companies in the industry. And so to come out of that and then realize, okay, now I feel like I almost have my pick of what I want to do. Do I want to work in a grow and a cultivation facility? Do I want to, run a head shop or a dispensary? I felt like I kind of had a lot of different options, but really what pulled me back was, I'm a writer, I'm a journalist. I like to teach people the things that I learn through my travels. And so that's what really drew me to Northeast Leaf. And the people that I work with are amazing people. They're part of our community. They are, lifelong dedicated heads, and so I knew that, there were people that I could trust. There was no, investor corporation kind of entity that needs to be fed and pleased or any of that sort of thing, which I found very refreshing. And then, I could also continue to do the podcast. I can do consulting. I could do all my other stuff. And so really, my time with High Times was a pleasure, and I learned so much, and I was able to write my books during that time and really learn everything I needed to know, at least for that time. There's obviously way more to learn, but I just think I'm focused now on the future. I want to build Northeast Leaf and the Grow Bud Yourself podcast into hopefully one day, have the type of legacy that High Times has of a 45 plus year history of educating people and all that. So yeah, that's long story short, how things went down. The people that I worked with were incredible, my editors and all my friends over there. So I really,
so you've had a crew over the years, an amazing crew. Lots of that we've been able to be friends with and hear stories about, and it's just been awesome. Like we said, we had Keith Stroup on a few weeks ago. who's just full of fun stories with obviously tied to high times, getting arrested on the Boston Common, all those fun things, right? It was great stories from him. So we don't normally have a candidate that can actually speak to these questions, right? So I got two questions for you, all right? And we're going to try to answer some of the fun East versus West Coast stuff. So for question number one would be, where has been your favorite place to go and experience cannabis region wise? You know what I mean? And then the second question would be, literally, who has the better weed, East Coast or West Coast? Come on, Danny. You of all people should be able to answer this question, right?
Wow, you're trying to get me in trouble now.
We're gonna start a war.
Wow. It's hard to pick just one place, but I think if I had to, it would be Spain. The cannabis scene is incredible. The hash is incredible. Their proximity to Morocco, as well as the homemade hash at this point. And so I'd have to say Barcelona, San Sebastian, Donostia in the north, in the Basque region. Those are probably the places I've appreciated visiting the most. I mean, you know, Amsterdam I've been to so many times and I love it. And but the weather, you know, the weather in November in Amsterdam is not always so great. And Vancouver, I mean, I could just go on and on, but I think if I had to pick one, it would be Spain.
Yep, nice.
And then as far as East versus West Coast, I mean, it really kind of depends on who you know. I think West Coast, obviously for consistency's sake, you can't really get away with any kind of boof out there. So West Coast has far more consistently high quality cannabis. But if you know the right people on the East Coast, I think, you know, you can get some pretty good cannabis. But, you know, the reputation the East Coast has is for taking the, you know, the dregs of what they've got out West, you know, and repackaging the light depths as indoor or the, you know, you know, so, I mean, you know, I'd have to say NorCal is where I consistently smoke the highest quality cannabis.
Nice.
But that, you know, they also have a few decades
ahead of us, right?
head start.
Well, I laugh when we have this question because it seems like everyone that was ever a good grower in the East Coast always kind of moved out west because it was, you know, more opportunities, more acceptable. Everybody either moved out to California or Colorado. Even when I was in high school, man, all my stoner buddies that we were growing together and really into weed, they all left. They all went out west. They were like, we're going to go skiing in Colorado. We're going to grow some weed. We're going to learn about this. And it's been fun to see their journeys because, you know, they've kind of traveled around from, you know, out to Colorado to California and down and around. And now they're all kind of coming back east. They're kind of following that movement to help get us going here, which is great. I'm really excited for what the East Coast can do here really soon. So great answer to those questions, Danny. What we're going to do here is we're going to take a quick time out. We're going to drop the ball here and we're going to go into Justin's strain of the week. We have a great strain this week. Justin, tell us a little bit about this gelato you enjoyed.
So I picked this strain because it's not for the beginner smoker. It's for someone who's a little bit more of the tolerant type. I wanted to try and smoke some of like the strongest that, you know, the dispensary that I go to. I go to Divine Wellness Center in Canoga Park, and I wanted just a really high indica. And this one, you know, they come in about 20 to 25% THC. So it's not the strongest one I've smoked. I've smoked one at 32%. But I did like this one a lot. It was a very sweet smelling strain, and I liked the percentages of terpenes.
All right, well, here we go. This is Gelato, guys, strain of the week in the Weeds, Prohibition Talk Radio, and the Bud Grower.
Hi guys, my name is Justin. I'm with the Bud Grower, and welcome to this week's Strain of the Week. This is brought to you by In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio, the Green Nurse, and Vermont Cannabis Solutions. This week, we're going to be talking about Gelato by King's Garden, the king of weed. So Gelato has a very long history and a lot of lineage between a lot of West Coast strains. But the predominant ones, it's a mix between Sunset Sherbet and Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies. And again, just two huge strains out here that they put together to create the gelato. What's really, really cool about this is that it's a very nice hybrid. And when you look at the two strains, the two parent strains that it has, it's actually a really cool, just almost in the middle spectrum. On one side, you have Sunset Sherbet, which is another hybrid. But if you look at it on the spectrum, it leans slightly more towards the calming side of your high. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies, which is another hybrid, but it leans just one notch on the energetic side. So putting those together almost balances out. It doesn't leave you feeling too heavy one way or the other, but it gives you a nice, well-balanced effect. One of the major reasons why people choose this strain is due to its euphoric effect. And when I say euphoric, it is relaxing, but you are going to get some giggles out of this. You are going to be sitting on your couch. You're going to be laughing. You're going to be having a good time, and it's a nice and good booster. Open this up. I'm going to show you what it's all about, and we're going to take a full in-depth look as to what makes gelato so good. So this has a very sweet berry smell to it, and that predominantly comes from the high levels of terpenes in this. When we look at the spectrum, we're going to find that caryophyllene is going to dominate about 24%. Right after that, it's limonene at 21%, myrcene at 12%, and linalool at 10%. The big fruity, zesty flavor that you get from this comes primarily from the caryophyllene and the limonene. They make it a very almost flowery. But when I mean flowery, I mean more like lilacs and daisies versus strong, skunky cannabis smell. Now, take a look at the actual bud itself. A lot of people really like this just to look at it. When you look at people who, if you ask anyone who works in the industry, a really popular strain that they like to harvest, it is gelato, because it has a very deep purple hue, but it also has these wild, fiery orange hairs. And we'll give you a close-up of that after. But that, I mean, you can almost see the purple of it really is pronounced, and it's very, very full. I mean, the buds themselves are very tightly packed. I mean, this thing is almost crystallized in the trichomes on the bud itself. The bud structure is chunky. It's not very leafy. There's like 5 distinct chunks on this one in particular, and it is hard. It is very hard. It's not dry. You can tell it's very moist, but you don't have a lot of breakage. You don't have a lot of dryness to this. I mean, this thing is literally like almost like caramelized in THC crystals. This is a very, very strong one. I can tell already. For those who are new to smoking, as opposed to those who've been doing this for a while, I would say that with the THC levels being on the higher end, approximately to 20 to 25%, this one in particular is, let's see here, somewhere up 23.78%. So this is still on the higher end of the spectrum. If you're new to it, I would say maybe take a couple hits and then put it away, see how you feel. If you're an experienced smoker, I would still kind of say maybe ease up a little bit. Don't rip it out of a huge bong. I wouldn't be doing huge bong rips out of this. I'd just take it like a pop, put it away. It is extremely strong. And from the reviews prior to smoking this, I would say that you're looking at, it's going to come on hard. It's going to come on hard and very fast. So I'm going to take a look at this. We're going to smoke a little bit. I'm going to tell you how it feels and give you the full rundown. I'll be back. So when I say this comes on hard and fast, this really comes on hard and fast. I mean, from the time I hit this to the time now has only been a matter of like a minute and a half. I mean, I'm already high. I only took a few hits and I'm an experienced smoker, and this is hitting me really quickly. As far as the high actually goes, this is very good because I'm not, I mean, I kind of lose myself a little bit, but I'm not incoherent. This is why I choose hybrids, because it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. And while I have each of the parent is on one little tick up on the opposite sides of the spectrum, this balances out really, really well. I have a very good, very well balanced high. Both my body and my head are feeling the effects, but neither are feeling them too drastically. Again, I only took a couple hits from this, so I'm not, I'm not here trying to show you how to be, absolutely stoned off your mind, but I also feel that a lot of people, a lot of people are gonna do that. So if you're an occasional smoker, maybe a couple hits and call it quits. But if you're an experienced smoker, I don't know, man. You just do whatever you want, I guess. As for how I feel dope. I feel awesome. This is like, my friend actually, my coworker, we have a help wanted sign, and he just, I don't know if it's me just thinking this is like the funniest thing right now, but he walked in, he goes, "Hey, I see that you're looking for help. I just want to say good luck." And I was sitting there like, what? Like, what is this? Yeah, as for how I feel about this, I am finding a lot of things funny. Like, there aren't too many things going on right now that I can laugh at, but in my head, I'm thinking about like funny things that I remember from not being at work. So I haven't been sitting here for like, 30 seconds, just kind of giggling myself a little bit. I do like it. It is a good mood booster, and because it's Friday here, I am kind of more relaxed. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm ready to head out and go have some fun, go downtown maybe, and check a few things out. But as far as, my high is, I'm pretty level. I'm pretty level. This is feeling pretty good, and I think things are funny. I don't know what's funny. I just can't stop. So yeah, that's how this is making me feel. I feel like this is a really good mood booster for anyone who may be suffering from depression or anxiety, or is just maybe even just having a rough day. You want to come home, you want to watch something funny, you want to watch anything too serious. If you're not in the mood for being serious, this is probably the perfect one for you. So this is an interesting tidbit about the strain. A lot of people, because it's phenotype 33, that's the number, a lot of people associate this with Larry Bird, even though he's probably never smoked weed. But that's become a popular thing to put alongside this strain as like a tidbit of information. So for all you New Englanders out there and all you basketball fans, this is probably a fun one to try. It's the Larry Bird strain. So there you have it. As far as maybe potentially growing this strain, this is a very, very hard one to actually grow. So this isn't one that I would suggest growing for beginners. Although if you have experience in growing and you're comfortable with what you're doing and you want to kind of take the next step, I would try and find some seeds or some clones of gelato. They are a little bit more hard to come by. It's a little bit pricier in terms of clone value, but it is an interesting strain to maybe even just try once if you're looking to take that next step. So there you have it, folks. This is gelato by King's Garden, the king of weed. And you can find this in most legal retail outlets within the California area. It is a little bit more on the pricier side. For an eighth, it costs me about $50, but it's not too pricey. It seems to be within that, right? I mean, you include taxes, you include, fees, anything like that. No, this is a really good strain. I like this a lot. It put me in a good mood, made me funny, it made me laugh. I don't have any jokes, but I just think everything's funny. So I like it a lot. I want to say thank you to In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. I want to say thank you to the Green Nerds. I want to say thank you to Vermont Cannabis Solutions. Check those guys out. Check us out at thebudgrower.com. We have a promo going on within the Weeds right now, whereas if you use the promo code Prohibition10. So thanks again. Thanks for tuning in, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, because this is a good strain. I like it a lot, and I want to see what other people have to say. So take care, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, another great strain of the week, man. Some of that stuff we could have cut out, but it was just too funny to see how you were reacting to the strain. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the best part, right? And like you said, you didn't take much, and with gelato, you don't really need much, do you?
No, you don't. I was pretty good for the weekend on that. No, it's funny. I didn't, one thing that we didn't record that I wish I did was when you hear the king of cannabis or the king of weed, you're skeptical. You're like, how did this guy sell? Is it self-proclaimed or like what? And so my coworker and I, we were just scrolling through to find information on it. And we're like, yeah, they probably won some crazy awards, or maybe they were featured in High Times or anything. The guy's name is Michael King. I was just we were dying there oh, here we think it's this crazy award-winning company, and it's no, the guy's name is just Michael King. It's all right.
Well, it's unique how these strains come about, and what's really unique about this one that you said before is it's two hybrids, right? It's not two land races, it's not nothing like that. So it's really two hybrids that come together to make gelato, and gelato is really a great strain to use in other strains, right? Because it really takes that level up another few notches, I think, right?
Yeah, we had been researching the lineage of this, and it just keeps going, which is really cool. It's it's a cross between two different strains that are also a cross between two different strains, and it just keeps going and going and going when you look at the family tree. So it has a very long lineage.
I love it, man. I just love how happy you are with no reason, right? I mean, it just shows up what cannabis can do to somebody, and I really love how you do it, because it really shows the mood change, right? Because we talk about, the drastic mood changes people can have, and you really highlight that. I love it.
Yeah, it's this is my intro. This is me giving you all the information. Now I'm going to smoke it. And
I love it. All right, guys. So before we get to Tim, we're going to talk to Tim. We got a lot to talk to him about. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world today, especially nationwide with regulations and laws moving forward, and a couple unique laws.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around Charles Koch and Snoop Dogg having a Zoom meeting about a cannabis company.
Yes,
we'll talk about that later. Still have a real hard time on that one.
Right. Yeah, I saw that headline. I was thinking yeah, these are interesting conversations, but these are the conversations we need to have, right? These people of all industries need to step forward and kind of help push us along, right? And who better than Snoop Dogg, right? Who knows more than him, really, right? So it's really unique news. We got a lot to talk about: Mexico, New Mexico, Connecticut, Rhode Island, all these different things. But really quick, I want to plug something that we're doing here on 420 before the end of the show. We're going to do a 420 giveaway, guys. It's going to be a podathon that me and Sherry Tuckers are going to do here. We're going to come up here on 420. We're going to launch at 420. And we have about 50 different businesses all donating really cool, unique products to what we're doing on 420. So if you guys don't want to get involved with that, we're going to make it really easy. We're going to set the event page up tomorrow. But I mean, we have things like a whole weekend's vacation to like a cannacation, right? We have right down to cookies, right down to stickers, right down to books, right down to bongs, to glass, to it's blowing up, guys. It's going crazy. We even got genetics involved, so we got some great genetics coming out of Canada for you guys. And all you gotta do is just pay attention for that. We're going to discuss it later. Me and Sherry have been working around the clock the last couple of days. It was just a crazy idea we had that's just blown up, and hopefully we'll get Danny and his book involved, which we're really excited to have. But guys, you know, we have everything. Oh man, it's meme hack books, cartoon books from the Addicted Animal series, cookbooks, the Hemp Can Save the World cookbook from B. Satya, who we had on the show before. We have the Weed Mom book we're going to be available as well, right? We have a couple $100 worth of products from Sugar Hill Confectioners. It's great. We got a couple of Keef collectors. It's just, I don't even know what we're going to do with all this stuff. I think I've created a monster involved. We got people out west involved. Hopefully we get the bud grower involved. So we're really reaching out, guys. After all the COVID we've gone through in the last year, I think we all need something that's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining, and everybody has a chance to win. You know what I mean? So hopefully you guys join us on 420. We're going to do a podathon, kind of like a telethon. We're going to have guests calling in. We're going to have people showing up. We're going to be giving away stuff. And all you got to do is enter. You're going to get a number. I've realized in the last couple of days, not everybody knows what a Yankee
swap is. Yankee swap. Potluck. Yankee swap. That's what we're calling it. Joe just went away.
We lost them.
We lost.
Come back, Joe. Come back.
Well, anyways, I can
Come back, Wayne.
come back, Joseph. We've got events. There's a lot of live events that people are giving away tickets, a ton of books, medical books, comic books, kids books. We have gift certificates. So a lot of the nurses are donating free consultations, free energy healing sessions. We have durable medical equipment that Joe had talked about, like different bongs and rigs and glass companies.
Durable medical equipment. I love it. I love that word. But guys, pay attention for that. We'll be launching that tomorrow. We got it's going to be huge. I can't wait. It's going to be. I don't think anybody's ever done it this way. Hopefully not. But we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So, that being said, we did talk about Snoop Dogg talking to Charles Koch and Welding Angelos, which led to a new legalization group, right? So we have these federal legalization of cannabis groups popping up everywhere, it seems like right now. We talked to about a couple of them recently. But that being said, I really want to talk about DC, right? So Tim, DC, the DC mayor says the district is ready for regulated cannabis, right? But there's congressional riders blocking the reforms, right? What has to happen in DC to make legalization happen, Tim?
So DC is an interesting kind of, I think their license plates say, without representation, the point being, they don't have a say. It's not a state, it's a district. And any laws that are major changes in the Washington, D.C. area need to be approved by Congress. And this goes back to the founding of the city as the nation's capital way back when, before it was a major metropolitan area. And then there's been a push every year for statehood for DC, but because it's predominantly, Democratic and more liberal bent in that city, the Republicans have always stopped it from ever becoming a state to get full representation. So it's, and with this, cannabis is a major issue. They're not allowed to pass it and to legalize themselves, unfortunately. It has to be done through an act of Congress. So, what they did basically years ago was decriminalize, place it as the lowest level of priority for law enforcement. And, there's been a de facto legalization in DC for the last 5 years or so. I remember going down there for an International Cannabis Bar Association meeting. And, it took me all of about 45 minutes on Instagram to pop up and to get there and to go up and get great products. It was my first actual experience with a pop-up. And so, there is a de facto legalization. They have allowed the gifting thing to occur. I think juice bars popped up there for the first time. But the problem is that it is, kind of it's not official. So if law enforcement decides to come down on somebody, they still can. There are still arrests made. And guess who bears the disproportionate brunt of the arrests that are made on it? It's not me for being a white male. I'll tell you that much right now. So, you are seeing the perpetuation of the, racist origins of the cannabis prohibition continue to an extent there in DC. So, full legalization is what the people want. Full legalization is, if the mayor, even law enforcement at this point, clarity is a good thing to have. So, it's a very frustrating thing. And I think it does stem back to that, the fact that they should be a state. At this point, there's enough people. I think there's more people in the metropolitan DC area than there are in Vermont. There's a group of people who are there who are not given their, representative in Congress. They don't have the right to pass their own laws. So I think, the cannabis thing highlights a larger problem, but they're ready to go and they should go. And I think, more and more and more, a few standouts like Idaho, most of the states want to see legalization. People want to see legalization. It's, we always talk about it's the disproportionately represented older class that it happens to be in power in a lot of state legislatures and executive branches that are really holding everything back. People want this. And I think that's clear in every single poll that we see. With just sky high rates of positive feelings about medical cannabis. And, a constant 2/3 majority for full adult use. And that's just right across the board.
Now, is that what we're seeing in Connecticut right now? Connecticut seems to have an interesting thing going on because it seems like their legalization is backed by their governor, and they keep pushing it. It just passed a judicial committee recently. Was it today? Actually, do we see Connecticut legalizing here in the next few months?
I don't know about maybe next few months. Certainly within the next year. How fast it goes. I'm not 100% sure if there's any obstructionists in the legislature, but it's the inevitability. We talked about, it's funny. I remember talking about this the last 2 years, when it was going to be New Jersey and New York, and, everybody was kind of jockeying and nobody was doing it. Pennsylvania's looking at it and the governors are meeting, having regional conferences about this. And, who's going to go first? Jersey went, boom, New York goes, boom, Connecticut goes, boom, Pennsylvania goes, because everyone knows it's inevitable. The legalization of cannabis is an inevitability. We are getting there. We are thanks to people like Donnie, thanks to people that laid the groundwork and laid this for over the last 20 years. The people who sacrificed themselves, who went to prison, so many people. Now we are seeing the result of all of this work, of all of this sacrifice, of all of this, just absolutely ridiculous long period of prohibition and all the destruction that has wreaked on people. We're seeing a change. And now it's happening, and it's happening, I think, faster than anybody thought. And, what blew my mind was Virginia. That was a place that I did not foresee happening as quick as they did. And now that you've got
they're fast tracking, right?
60 million people in the tri-state area, and everything leads to the next. So now we got the Safe Banking Act, which, passed the House, got held up by our wonderful friend Mitch McConnell. Now we have Charles Schumer. He's very much in support. And you got the reality of an $800 million estimated market in New York City alone in cash. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine trying to have a legal adult use market in New York City, the financial capital of the world, transacted solely in cash? It's just so ridiculous to think of that, I think one then brings the next. And if we can see New Jersey bringing New York, we can see New York bringing Connecticut, we can see Connecticut bringing Pennsylvania, and we can see that entire group of people then motivate Congress to pass something like the Safe Banking Act, and hopefully to even take more comprehensive cannabis reform. I would have said 3 to 4 years. I think that time frame is shortening now, and I think New York plays a major role in that.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm stoked to see New York get behind it. We've been talking about New York for 3 years since we started the show. It seems like every week it's like a different.
Almost there.
Yeah, it's like 1 week they're saying one thing, the next week it's totally different. It's hypocritical to what they said the week before. The next thing you know, we got corporations coming in from Canada, and we're not supposed to be doing that. And it was just been, back and forth in the home grow situations, and for them
York's
not
so
to allow
country.
home grow would have been crazy, right? But like you said, we talked about a few weeks ago with Tammy, right? Because the demographics of New York is just really ridiculous. You have the city, then you have the state, right? And
New York
two
City
totally
and then
different places.
everything else.
Right.
People in New York, they don't even realize there's an upstate. It's like, oh, no, there's something above 192nd. I'm not quite sure what up there, some trees and some cows and shit. I don't know. But it is. It's like two different worlds,
Right.
and so you have two different sets of priorities. You also have the fact that you population-wise and GDP-wise, you're talking about an entity, New York State, larger than a lot of countries. I mean, it is huge. A lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of corporate interests, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, a lot of backroom politics. I mean, this is just reality. The larger the state, the larger the GDP, the larger the bullshit in the government. And New York is definitely a prime example of that. And it's just amazing to see how this just happened, especially with Cuomo. And it's interesting that you're talking about that. Cuomo and all his problems between his done, his absolute absurd decision-making skills. And I thought that might have sunk him. Because he has been really championing this. And I thought, the loss of his political capital, oh boy, and so are we going to see it now? Is he going to get held up another year? And it was the exact polar opposite. It was like he was in trouble. He needed a distraction. And the legislature saw a chance to get their agenda through. Cuomo was never about homegrown. He was adamant. He did not want homegrown. I don't think he was real public consumption. Seriously, New York is only the second jurisdiction on the face of the earth that has legal public consumption. Montreal and New York City now, you can smoke cannabis wherever you can smoke a cigarette. That's just absolutely incredible. And the home grow provisions are great. I mean, they don't kick in until 2024. I really hope we don't see people getting arrested for growing a plant or two in the interim. That would really not be at all. But the fact that it's happening, the fact that it's moving forward. I'm a New York boy myself. I remember, Manhattan, just smoking weed behind every little dumpster and every little garbage can looking for NYPD, and to think that now it is just, you can just walk down St. Mark's Place and just smoke a joint. I can't even fathom that reality. So it's amazing to see.
I don't know if anybody's caught the SNL skit that they released for this New York legalization. I'd shared it, Danny. I think you've seen it, right? Oh my God.
It actually came out a while back.
The guys
like
from
when Woody Harrelson was on the show. Yeah, I think that's when they made it. But yeah, it's been a long time coming. And as Tim mentioned, it's such a shock that it's actually law. I mean, literally when the governor signed it, it's law. And he did say that there's an 18-month moratorium on people growing, but if you have a medical card, it's a 6-month moratorium. So,
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. If you got a medical card in New York, you can start 6 months from, I guess, when he signed the bill.
I know the adult use provisions I had heard kicked in, or a non-medical, it was like a certain amount of months after the dispensaries were able to open their door.
18 months. Yeah, 18 months after the first legal adult use spot
or throw a bone to the dispensaries.
Right.
But
at the same time, like you said, no, hopefully no one's going to be getting arrested for it. And the point is that, even the NYPD came out and said, this is no longer a reason. People smoking on the street is not a reason to search their pockets or any kind of provocation to get involved with them in any way. It's consider it like someone smoking a cigarette, and that's it. And to me, that's music to my ears. If you've
starts now.
As Tim mentioned, if you've ever tried to smoke in the streets of New York and had the TNT technical narcotics task force van pull up, they throw you in the back of that van and they ride around for 8 hours until they fill the van up with people. And if it's a Friday, you wait till Monday to get out, and it's the place they take you is called the Tombs. So enough said. You go to the Tombs for smoking a joint on the street outside of a bar or something, and it's just and it's happened to so many thousands of people. And to be honest, it's 90% Black and Latino, which is such an obviously racist policy that it's just on the face of it, it's just so ridiculous compared to what the population of New York City is and who's arrested. So, I mean, just blatant. And this is with a mayor, a progressive mayor, de Blasio, who's been mayor for years. Yeah, it's still happening. So yeah, this whole thing was such a blessing for New York State,
That's over.
upstate New York, these communities that have been just ravaged by the end of industrialization and all the factories closing. And then, you know, the factories became prisons and everybody, you know, became prison guards. And now hopefully those same prisons maybe can become cultivation centers.
Yes,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
They already have the lighting all set up and the compartmentalization is all there. So I'm hoping, you know, we can put
Absolutely
those people
fantastic.
to work in a positive manner.
Right. Prisons, old schools, like they have the infrastructure to do whatever we need, the power to do what they
those
need.
old
No, it's totally
factories,
true.
yeah, convert them all into cultivation facilities, and you know, we have a whole new industry to lean on for upstate.
Yep.
And I think it's
And
going to be
hopefully-
great for the city and for upstate. And the city is going to be like New Amsterdam again, which is what it was before the
Yes.
British came and changed it to New York. It was New Amsterdam. And I think with the consumption lounges, we can be New Amsterdam again. And I just can't imagine what that's going to look like, but here we go.
Yeah, right. No one's going to leave New York anymore to travel anywhere. Everybody's going to go to New York. New York's going to be the new tourist destination, right?
Why not? We got it all.
Well, the best part about everything is that you guys are right. They basically the cops have basically said we're not going to arrest people. Whether that stands to be true or not, we'll find out. But you know, nobody wants to be wasting money or taxpayers and police time on arresting people for these small charges, right? It's just like we said, we've seen people in prison for literally nothing, right? It's phenomenal what New York is doing now. You know, New York is going great. We have all these great things. And one of the states that we've talked about quite a bit recently, Tim, and we laugh about it every time we say its name, Alabama, right? So Alabama is coming on with legalization, but they did a unique thing this last week, right? Yesterday, the Alabama Senate Judiciary Committee advanced a measure to ban Delta 8 and Delta 10 THC. Now, this is a conversation we have every week, right? Delta 8, Delta 10, legality of it. Can you buy it? I literally, as I'm listening to Danny, got a message from a patient that we're working with in Texas saying that the only thing that they're allowed to get in Texas is Delta 8. So what's going on with this Delta 8 thing? And in Alabama, is this a good move for them? And can they ban it?
Most of all was that anybody in Alabama knew what Delta 10 THC was, to be honest with you. This is the type of thing. Okay, so how did Delta 8 pop up? Delta 8 popped up as a loophole to get around the ban on cannabis in non-legal states. It is a mildly intoxicating, for those who don't know, I'm sure everybody here knows, mildly intoxicating, cannabinoid that can be extracted, from the plant. Gets down to this: the natural amount of D8 or Delta 8 THC in hemp, which is where it can be legally extracted from under the Farm Bill. Any extracts from industrial hemp, cannabis containing less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC is legal. So you extract, it's legal. I can sell it in the store. Not quite. The amount of Delta 8 naturally occurring in cannabis is very, very minuscule. But it's a relatively easy process, from what I understand, to extract CBD, or to take those stockpiles of CBD isolate that you've been sitting on, because now all of a sudden the price has crashed, and convert it to Delta 8. I'm not a scientist. I'm not sure of the process by which the conversion occurs. What I understand, it is not that difficult a process to take your CBD and to convert it into Delta 8. So then the question becomes, is it legal? Well, under the Farm Bill, everything extracted from hemp is legal. But the DEA has a specific, and the Controlled Substances Act has a specific prohibition on synthetic cannabinoids. Reason for that: spice, K2, these fake chemical things have nothing to do with marijuana, cannabis, or cannabinoids that they slap on and call synthetic marijuana. Bath salts, God only knows what crap they put in it. Those are all outlawed under this synthetic cannabinoid law. Well, when you take Delta 8 and you extract out CBD, and then you subject that CBD to a chemical process, which is some sort of process, which then in turn creates Delta 8, is that a synthetically produced cannabinoid, or is that a naturally occurring cannabinoid? Good question. It's very strong right now. And cannabis lawyers, us crazy cannabis lawyers, have this all listservs and everything we did. There's a huge, there's a contingent that says no, it's extracted from hemp, it's fine. There's another contingent that says no. Legislative intent, it's synthetically produced, it is not legal. And what you're seeing states now is, just outlaw, right? Getting away from the controversy and just outlawing it straight, because it is proliferating. And the problem is not that D8's dangerous or D8's bad, is that because we have no regulations, because we have no standardizations, there are people who just care about profit, who are making the stuff in bathtubs, who are using bleach, who are using all sorts of crazy ass chemicals, doing DIY extraction, DIY conversions. There's no regulation over it. And much as we saw with the early CBD industry, and even now to an extent, there's a lot of products being labeled Delta 8 that aren't Delta 8, or that have sky high THC, or that have unidentified compounds. In one study I read, I don't know what it's in there, which really does put the public at risk. That is what's dangerous. It's not the fact that Delta 8 as a cannabinoid is dangerous. It's not dangerous at all. But when, again, through prohibition and through, this runaround and through trying to make money and greed and not having, production labs doing this properly and not having standardized metrics for testing and product safety, we are getting a bunch of products that slap a label on and people buying them, and there's a potential of people getting sick. And that's concerning. I don't like to say any cannabis should be outlawed or restricted at all, ever. It's not a dangerous substance. But when prohibition forces people to start, and we saw this with bootleg gin, people going blind because of wood alcohol. Every time you have prohibition, you have people trying to take advantage of that fact. You have unscrupulous actors who are putting dangerous products into the stream of commerce.
Right. No, it's a Delta 8 needs to be talked about a lot more than we normally talk about it, right? Which is unique because we're talking about Alabama and this Delta 8 issue and the Delta 10 issue, right? 58 minutes ago, the House Committee approved medical marijuana legalization bill, which has already passed the Senate in Alabama. So congratulations, Alabama. Now they just need to proceed through one more committee before hitting the House floor. So do we think Alabama is going to go green? Is this really going to happen in Alabama? Danny, what do you think about this?
I mean, they'll pass a restricted medical bill like everyone follows the same for Congress pretty much, except for South Dakota. And they'll, restrictive medical bill, which slowly gets more and more people get on board and becomes more comfortable, and then they move to adult use. And I would anticipate the same happening there. It is amazing to see, though. I mean, come on, Alabama too, Virginia. I mean, all these states. Who would have done?
Oklahoma, that's another one I never would have thought would be, especially, with as open as they are with licensing and everything else. It's pretty amazing. But as you mentioned, it's not the CBD or the Delta 8 or the THC that are the problem. It's the catalyst chemicals. It's the dangerous chemicals. And you could also, you could say this about concentrates as well. I mean, in an unregulated market and with people open blasting and not properly purging hydrocarbons out of the product, you're getting a compromised product, and only with regulations do you get a clean product. And also the whole idea of Delta 8 being popular is because of the prohibition of THC to begin with. Exactly right. How do we get something similar to THC out of hemp? Why bother? You don't have to. Just grow high THC cannabis. It really is that, a lot of these harms come from prohibition. And just as Tim mentioned with the bathtub gin and people going blind, that doesn't happen now in a regulated alcohol marketplace, and nor will it in a legal cannabis marketplace.
I mean, we still have
the benefits, guys, just real quick, Joe. The benefits of the plant come from the plant. Yes. I hate this isolating out individual cannabinoids, whether it's CBD, whether it's Delta 9, whether it's Delta 8, whatever. That's not what it's meant for. It's not meant to isolate out and to have CBD by itself. CBD is a modulating chemical. It's a modulating compound that modulates the rest of the cannabinoids. It is the full profile, the cannabinoid profile of the plant. The cannabinoids mixed with the terpenes and their interactions with our endocannabinoid system. So pulling one out is just like, why do you do that? Are you going to pull one ingredient out of a recipe and just have that one ingredient? Or are you going to cook it into a recipe and have that enjoyable meal? And not, so isolate's driving me nuts. Whatever. I think it's a fad. I think when we finally legalize and people understand the value of the full plant and the whole plant and the individual cannabinoid profiles, the concept of isolating out single cannabinoids, people are going to be like, what? What do you do that for?
It's like having chicken parm without the chicken, right? You're mixing something major, right?
I think for research purposes, it makes sense, but for people for usage, it really doesn't. And I've actually tried pure THC. It's actually really boring without, the other elements there. It's kind of, it's not as exciting or interesting.
Well,
And
Sherry will talk to us about this all day long, about the cannabinoids and how they work and interact with each other and how they can benefit each other. We talk about CBG, right? Opening up our receptors a little bit more to help the THC. This whole CBD bubble, I agree with Tim. Like the isolation of molecules, I think is beneficial in some cases, especially if you're going to be doing custom blends and working with patients that have severe, needs that are beyond just a whole plant medicine, right? We talk about that a lot as well. But yeah, no, you're right. The cannabinoids, the whole Delta 8, the whole Delta 10, like it's everybody's trying to get around prohibition, right? Everybody's trying to find that high. But the unique thing about Delta 8 is everybody loves it. Like everybody who takes it seems to like it. They enjoy it, right? It seems to work for them. And it might be a better option for some people and patients, just because they don't have that high THC effect that some people may not be able to deal with or want to deal with or whatnot. And like you said, we can find it in anything right now. I've seen it almost as prevalent in products as THC, right? And then we talk about the CBD. I think it's a bubble. I think it's a great thing that helped us get past and through legalization and medical bills put through, because it does have a value. But like Tim said, there's a whole plant there. Sherry will talk about it all day long. Yeah, and that plant has multiple benefits. So, let's stop squeezing these things out of these plants and let's just be able to grow and do what we want. I want to see it treated like corn, man. That's all I care about. Like Danny said, if I want to go into the Shaw's Market and buy an eighth of weed off the shelf, I can. If I want to go to the dispensary, I can go buy an eighth of weed. But if I want to go down to my local farm stand down the road and go buy some of his weed, I should be able to, right? I mean, that's how we should look at it. It's a agricultural product, right? That the day it turns out an agricultural product is the day I say we win. You know what I mean? That means there's, they just kind of release their hands of it, right? They just wash their hands and they're going to let, it fall under agricultural rules. But, until then, we'll see what happens. But all right, guys, we're getting close to the end here today. Now, other things I want to talk about with Tim here, we talked about Alabama, they're coming on board. We talked about federal legalization. We talked about, the NYPD has issued the status that they're not going to arrest for public consumption of cannabis, which I hope a lot of other states realize is important as well. To be allowed to go out, consume, enjoy, be able to open up a lounge and not have all these issues surrounding these guys. The only thing I want to talk to you about, Danny, is, being it's an industry, it's a corporation, to get involved, to play the game. Why does it cost so much money, man? Like if I want to open up any other business in any other industry, it would not cost me $1 million, right? But if I want to open up a dispensary, what are we talking about here?
I mean, I think that, the government is anticipating people making huge profits from cannabis. And so that's why the cost of entry is so high. Obviously, it keeps people out of that industry, when they want to open a storefront. But I think hopefully there'll be alternatives. Like I said, farmers markets and things like that, where people who just grow locally can sell their products at a reasonable rate and still potentially be taxed on it and all of that, but make a living. And the truth about the cannabis industry is there's a lot of people losing money in the cannabis industry. I think, from the outside, people look at it as some huge money-making scheme that you just jump in and make millions and jump out like it's a cell phone or something like that. The reality is there's so many setbacks and so many hurdles to jump over. And even if you get all the licensing and everything going, you still have problems with pests and mold, and that's if you're growing. And it's a very, very tough business to make money in. And I do have to emphasize that, like, people are just jumping in, like here in New York. I mean, my phone's been ringing off the hook. People want to figure out like, what do I do? What do I want to open this. I want to start that. I'm like, well, first, put together a business plan, be realistic about, what the prices are going to be, what the competition is going to be like. There's so many factors there. And as far as the level of entry, that's the price of being in the industry. And I think, people take on investors and then the investors take over their business. I've seen it happen so many times. And I don't know, I mean, it's not some pie in the sky thing you just jump in and out of. I think if you love the plant and you're dedicated to it, you'll find a role for yourself. Not everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody can be a business owner and run something that, first off, has to probably lose money for the first 6 months or so of operation or more. And there's people already in the space. There's medical dispensaries in New York that have been holding spaces, losing money for multiple years just to be there when things open up. Yeah. And then there's all these other people that are going to jump in. It's cutthroat. And that's the reality of the situation. So, anybody that has these illusions that they're going to just jump in, make a bunch of money and jump out, they're in for a rude awakening. It's a tough business.
Danny didn't even mention 280E. Even if you get through all of the hurdles of getting set up.
Yeah, where are you going to put the money?
Go there.
Where are you going to put the money if you are successful? You still don't really have, you got to invest in glass art or something to
70% effective tax rate with 280E, no standard business deductions from only cost of goods sold. Retailers get pounded by that. It's a very tough industry. I do want to say though, I think it does vary state by state, because some states are easier to get into than others. New York is going to be a nightmare. It's really good. We got called by a New York law firm, a cannabis law firm that we do some work with. I have a close colleague there, asking us to be of counsel today because their phone wouldn't stop ringing, and they've got like 4 attorneys. So we were pretty excited.
And Oklahoma is an example of where the level of entry is low, but at the same time, that is going to breed more competition, and that means you really have to stand out, and it's really going to shake itself out at some point, because there's only so many consumers in Oklahoma, and if you have thousands and thousands of retailers, eventually people are going to flock to the ones that they love and where the price is good or the quality is there, and the other ones are going to lose out. And so even though they got in cheap, that doesn't mean they're guaranteed. They're not guaranteed success, and so that's the truth of the situation. I do have to jump and run. I know you guys go till 6:20, so I'm sorry about that, but I have a taping of my podcast, so I want to thank you guys.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
So nice to see you, man.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure and an honor. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave, for sure.
So
guys,
much,
check
man.
out
Check
out Danny's show. Make sure everybody checks out Danny's show. Grow Bud Yourself. It's an amazing show. Make sure you guys check out Northeast Leaf Magazine. We're really proud to have Danny on the show today, and we're really glad to have you guys get involved in our 420 potluck giveaway here. So we'll talk soon, Danny. Enjoy your show. Good luck with your show today, and thank you for coming on with us, man. You're a true inspiration to so many people in this industry. You've probably one of the bigger educators of anybody in our industry, consistently month after month, putting out article after article after article, teaching people how to grow, teaching people about seeds, teaching people about strains, man. So many of us grassroots guys who've been grabbing the High Times magazines from 7-Eleven since we're 2000 or even younger, right? A huge bit of gratitude for you guys, High Times, and what you guys done for our industry. So thank you for staying in the games. Thank you for keeping it going, and I can't wait to get my hands on that new article of Northeast Leaf. It's a beautiful cover, man. We love glass here, as everybody knows. So
appreciate it. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys on 420.
Thank you, Danny.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
So
bye.
Guys, that was awesome. So Danny Danko, a true legend in our industry. He's the nicest guy. I've been able to go to events with Danny, shake his hand, talk to him a little bit here and there. He's been on our show before. He's come on with Ed Rosenthal and CryoCure. Those guys. He's an amazing guy, man. But one thing that I really want to talk to Tim about before we go to Sherry's little segment here was 280E. You actually, I'm sitting here, I'm reading about it because there's an article about it right now talking about how the congressional researchers analyzed 280E marijuana tax penalty and legislative solutions for people in the cannabis industry. Now, I don't think a lot of people understand what 280E is, Tim. Can you explain that a little bit to us? Because it really applies to substances.
280E, you find out about it pretty quick if you get involved in this. 280E is the Internal Revenue Code, which is the IRS law. IRC 280E states that any business that is conducting business involved in trafficking or distributing a Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance is not allowed to take standard business deductions. Real quick, interesting history. This was passed after a cocaine dealer in 1979, 1980 was arrested for tax evasion. And his response was, if you're going to arrest me for tax evasion, I get to deduct the cost of my henchmen and my guns and my speedboat that I used to, and this was in an attempt to lower the penalty on his overall taxes owed. And the courts ruled, yeah, all right, we're going to hold you to, you have to pay taxes. You're allowed to take your standard business deductions, even though you're a cocaine smuggler. Congress the very next year passed 280E, specifically prohibiting that from ever happening again, or anyone being able to use that defense. So this 280E thing sat unused with dust on it for 30 years. How many people have businesses involved in, none. So until cannabis.
Right.
Now you have businesses that are technically distributing and trafficking in a federally controlled substance. Marijuana is still a Schedule I controlled substance. So the IRS said, oh boy, well, we can't stop these states from doing this, but we sure hell can rake as much money as we can from them. And what 280E does in effect is, if you're a business owner, you realize a lot of your profit comes from being able to deduct certain expenses. So your payroll, your rent, your utilities, business expenses, supplies, computers, desks, anything you buy for your business, that's money that you spend on things for your business, you can deduct from your taxes. That encourages business growth. That does allow how a lot of small operators are actually able to turn a profit, to succeed, is because of these business deductions you can take. You cannot take any of those as a cannabis business. You are limited to what's called cost of goods sold, which is simply what you pay for the product you sell. So dispensaries can deduct the cash they pay a grower for their marijuana, but absolutely nothing else. And what it does is it makes an effective tax rate somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% on average for retail dispensaries who get hit the hardest. Now, cultivators get a little bit of a break. More of their expenses are cost of goods sold. So if your fertilizer would be a cost of goods sold, potentially your utilities, lights for an indoor grow. You got a little more flexibility in what you can use as a cultivator, because a lot is going towards the cost of your goods sold, which is your cannabis. But you still can't deduct your labor. You still generally can't deduct, any of your desks, equipment, computers, sales equipment, So it really is atrocious. It's brutal, and it is really hits bottom lines on plant touching cannabis industry companies.
Yeah, no, it's something I don't think a lot of people talk about enough, or people understand enough about. Like you said, it really creates a huge stress on your tax brackets, right? So
massively cuts into your profits. I mean, it's just, like I said, about 70%. So that means every dollar that comes in, 70 cents is going to taxes before you even hit your expenses, which you can't deduct.
And then everybody wonders why an eighth of weed costs $50 or $60 at a dispensary, right?
Yeah, the dispensary is probably making maybe off a $60 eighth, $5 profit, $6 profit, depending what their wholesale is. But when you factor in the overhead and you factor in 280E and you factor in all the added security and the inability, being forced to use cash only business, all of those create more expenses. The overall profit, you can survive, but it's not millions. It's not millions at all, not even close. Dispensaries are tough right now. And, the most profitable area is cultivation. Right now. I mean, that's where you're going to make the most money. Or if you're lucky enough to be vertically integrated and be able to grow and get retail price per gram. But even that, the expenses in it are just absolutely enormous.
Right.
It's not an easy industry right now to just simply, nobody just starts and makes $1 million. I'll tell you that. I'm sure Justin can back that up.
Yeah. Just grow from home. Just grow from home.
If you
can, just do it. You're going to save so much money just in terms of your bills. If you want to go to like a recreational dispensary or a medical dispensary, you're going to be spending a ton of money, and nobody wants to do that. So if you grow from home, yeah, it does take a little time, but there are methods to where you can grow up to a pound a month. I've learned those methods, and that's what I teach over at MCC Directory. I mean, really, that's essentially where a lot of people are going. I mean, you can't. What's mass tax on it? If you were to grow and distribute, isn't that like a 50? Timothy, you can back me up or maybe have more information, but isn't it like a 50% tax if you were to grow and distribute, isn't it close to that?
Yeah, you get hit on double, you get it on both ends. So you're taxed as the grower, then you're taxed as a transfer to the retailer. Then you got 280E to refute your deductions, so you can't,
Yeah, that's why I came to LA to work in the industry. It's like I don't want to deal with that. Like,
Maine's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Vermont does it if the tax is on the retailer, not the grower, so that'll be nice, or the wholesaler. Again, state to state, and but governments do. They legalize not because they love the plant. They legalize because they love what they think is going to be millions of dollars of tax revenue.
Yeah.
And they do so by imposing absurd tax rates, which,
Just grow from home.
Go from home.
It's easy to do it. Just skip all that if you're a consumer, or if you're a medical patient, just skip all that and just grow straight from the safety of your home. I know that starting in June, I'll be working as a medical caregiver. And what California is really cool doing is, let's say you go to the doctor, your doctor writes you a prescription. Well, you can come to us and we will grow it in-house for you. And we're allowed to grow up to 5 patients. So that's 35 plants up to, I can grow 35 plants. So, you think about that, you think about, I don't have to tax that because I'm just doing the service. I'm not actually getting any money from the medical patient. So it's just good that way. They pay for my service, not for what they're getting. And that's the difference. That's the kind of the loophole and things. But one thing that is noticeable too here is I don't know the legal system all that well, but when I go to buy clones here, every store that I've been able to buy clones at, I can pay with my card. I know that for most things, it's cash in hand. They have an ATM right there. You got to pull it out. But it's starting to move in the direction of where you can pay with a credit card or a debit card or something like that. So, that's out of my knowledge, but that's how I'm able to grow my clones right now.
Well, there are some services coming online with banking that allows for that, which is great for our industry. I mean, it's not everywhere, obviously. But we've talked to a few different people and seen a few different banking options recently that would really work well for people like that. You know what I mean? Especially dispensaries that have to take money. You know what I mean? This digital money, this, cash, what the government is expecting these dispensaries and businesses to do as far as taxes and all this stuff goes. It's like 280E, right?
Yeah.
So still we have to pay 280E, but we have to drive our cash to the bank still, Tim. I mean, we can't, it's still so fucked up in my head, right?
Yeah,
it absolutely
Schedule
is.
1 narcotic. You can't.
Right. It's for real though. But all right, guys, we're gonna go to Sherry really quick, and I don't have a can talk today. We played them all for you. I'll have it up tomorrow. Unfortunately, we got really clogged up in meetings today. My computer crashed on me about 4 times making your video, Justin, and just every time I saved it, it was weird because I saved it throughout the project. It just didn't work. We got it up though; it worked. But today we're gonna do a different twist. We're gonna do a little Terpene Tuesday. We're gonna talk about terpenol. We don't talk about terpenes enough on this show, right? I mean, we talk about cannabinoids, we talk about terpenes, but we never dive into it, right? We talk about health, we talk about all the fun stuff, but let's talk about terpene, right? We just did terpenol a few weeks ago, so hopefully Sherry can bring up a few things. But why are terpenes important, Sherry, and why should people know what these terpenes are?
Well, because terpenes are not only found in the cannabis plant, but they're found in a lot of other substances, foods, herbs, other plants, essential oils, and they have a medicinal effect. And so the part that's really cool about terpenes and cannabis, the entourage effect that we talk about all the time, and you've heard every one of us have talked about it today on the show, states that the whole of the plant is greater than its individual parts. And terpenes make up a huge component of the plant. The plant generally, you hear people argue about it all the time. There's I'd say over 400 components in the plant: cannabinoids, terpenes, essential fatty acids, bioflavonoids, cannaflavins. And together, the whole of the plant does have a huge medicinal component affecting multiple different systems all at the same time. And terpenes are part of that. And so we are breaking down and pulling out each individual terpene and talking about it through the studies that are available, the medicinal components to it, what it smells, the different strains that you can find it in. and other foods and substances that you can find it in as well. So terpenol.
Terpenol. Here we go, guys. We're going to show you a little Terpene Tuesday, what we do on Tuesdays with our terpenol video. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, it's Nurse Sherry from the Green Nurse at In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio, and today is Terpene Tuesday, and we're going to be discussing the terpene terpineol. But first, let's discuss what a terpene is. Terpenes are organic compounds that produce specific smells and tastes. They're found in cannabis, essential oils, plants, trees, and foods. In cannabis, the terpenes help ward off attacks from animals, insects, and fungus during the growth cycle of the plant. When a cannabis plant goes through the curation process, the terpenes become oxidized, resulting in what we know as terpenoids. Terpenes contribute to the entourage effect and have their own healing properties. The entourage effect suggests that utilizing cannabinoids and terpenes together produces a more potent medicinal effect, rather than using the isolated compounds alone. Another way of saying that is, the whole of the plant is greater than its individual parts. Plants containing terpineol have been used for centuries as natural remedies. For example, the lime blossom, also referred to as the linden flower, was used in traditional European medicine to treat colds, coughs, and flu. In the tea form, the lime blossom has been called the nectar of the kings for its soft, sweet scent and health benefits. What does it smell like? So terpineol has various different scents, and that's because it's found in various natural sources. So it smells like lilac, pine, citrus, lemons, limes, and it has a floral, woody undertone, all at the same time. Terpineol is found in natural sources such as pine trees, tea tree oil, lemons, limes, juniper berry, and nutmeg. In everyday life, terpineol is used as a scent and flavoring agent in foods, perfumes, cosmetics, soaps, lotions, and a variety of cleaning products. The types of products that have that gentle lilac profile may contain terpineol. It's also found in this tea called Lapsang Souchong tea, and it emits a piney, smoky aroma. And this type of terpene found in this tea is often used as a flavoring agent in baked goods. The medicinal properties and therapeutic benefits of terpineol include anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-tumor, and antimicrobial properties. Terpineol has been known to enhance the permeability of skin to lipid-soluble compounds, which may help create a topical entourage effect with lipophilic cannabinoids. So as we know, cannabinoids are fat-soluble. So this terpene allows the skin to be able to absorb more of the cannabinoids by its pure potential of what it's able to do. So for example, if a patient wants to use the anti-acne effects of CBD, combining CBD or the cannabinoids around the plant, including CBD, with a small amount of terpineol may improve the ability of this topical to absorb and also increase the bioavailability, which may improve the possible therapeutic results. In Cannabis, we have been exploring various different modules on studies related to cannabis found terpenes. So on terpineol, there are 22 studies in regards to terpineol that is found in the cannabis plant. There are no double-blind studies. There are no human clinical trials, but they have been testing terpineol in the lab with animals. So the different studies by the organ systems with terpineol in cannabis include the nervous system, the digestive system, the immune system, the respiratory system, integumentary system, mental, emotional system, which is our central nervous system, endocrine, and muscular system. The top condition studies are bacterial infections, lung cancer, asthma, peripheral neuropathy, stomach ulcers, depression, liver cancer, fatty liver disease, and herpes. Wow, that's a lot of different things in 22 studies. And it just shows us that we have so much more research to do. Some of the studies that we're going to talk about include a study on anti-inflammatory properties. The study was published in 2007 in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, and another was published in 2010 in the Basic Clinical Pharmacology and Toxicology. These two studies yielded positive results for terpineol as a potential new component to treat inflammation and pain. In 2011, there was an antioxidant study in the Food and Chemical Toxicology, which indicated that terpineol had a stronger antioxidant effect when compared to other commercial antioxidants. The scientists found that this outcome to be very, very encouraging for future studies with terpineol fighting against certain types of cancers, such as breast cancer and chronic myeloid leukemia. Which leads us into a 2010 study. There was an anti-cancer study published in the Anti-Cancer Research, and the results suggested that terpineol inhibited the growth of in vitro cancerous tumor cells, specifically those of small cell lung carcinoma. It also noted that it may be able to destroy certain cancers such as lung cancer cells and leukemia cells. In 2012, there was an antimicrobial study published in the Journal of Anaerobes, and it found that terpineol exhibited strong antimicrobial activity against oral bacteria. In effect, these researchers now recommend low levels of terpineol in conjunction with linalool to be incorporated into toothpaste or gargling solutions. Better choices for healthier teeth. So some strains that include terpineol include Jack Herer, White Widow, Girl Scout cookies, and OG Kush. And so what's so cool about this is all of these different strains have various different cannabinoids and terpenes. So we can't say that a specific terpene is going to have a specific effect, specifically when we're talking about cannabis, because of all of the different components. There is so much therapeutic potential with terpenoids and cannabinoids together, and we truly do have so much more to learn. This concludes Terpene Tuesday for today. My name is Sherry Tuckus from The Green Nurse, and be sure to join Nurse Mark and I for our Canna Talk segment every Wednesday live from 4:20 to 6:20 p.m. in the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. And if you're a patient suffering from chronic illness or disease, if you're new to cannabis, if you're interested in how to incorporate cannabis into a health and wellness lifestyle, or if you're interested in learning about how to have a safe adult use recreational experience, reach out to us at The Green Nurse, www.thegreennurse.com. And remember, it's about living your best life.
Another great segment for me, Sherry. Terpene Tuesday. We don't play those enough here. What's unique about it is, terpenes. Nobody talks about them enough, right? Nobody realizes the medical benefits. And like you said, how many tests are there being done? How many benefits are there? It's really fun when you hear the benefits. It's like one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. And we're like, why don't we focus on terpenes more, right?
What we do as nurses, and that's what we incorporate. So when we're educating patients and we teach them about different foods, we have a whole list of terpenes. Not only do we have a list of the terpenes and what they do, but we have a list of the terpenes and the different cannabinoid combinations that can actually promote a therapeutic medicinal effect for patients. And then we have a list that goes along with it of all the different foods. It's like a 10-page packet, but we give patients so they can incorporate these things into their life. We tell them, hey, here's a cheat sheet. Make cannabis work better for you. Start eating healthier. And it works. People are
like it's only, and these are things that are not only found in cannabis, right? They're found in all sorts of things in our daily lives, and they're being used in all sorts of things in our daily lives, which is really unique. So pretty much everything that has a scent or a smell is pretty much a terpene, right? Well, science is amazing, right? We learn something new every day, guys. So as much as we talk about terpenes and flavor profiles and all these things on our cannabis, just like Justin today brought up a bunch of great terpene values to gelato, right? I mean, these are the things that us connoisseurs are looking for, right? That taste, that smell, that fill of the mouth, that back of the throat textures, right? This is no different than like a chef, right? That's what we're looking for, right? So again, a great segment, Terpene Tuesday, Terpene All. If you guys ever want to find out more about our Terpene Tuesday videos, we do have them up on our YouTube page. We got to get them up onto the Green Nurse page soon here as well. But you can find all of our stuff over on YouTube, guys. So make sure you check us all out on YouTube. You can find us Prohibition Talk Radio, the Green Nurse, and the Bud Growers over there well with a bunch of videos. Helping you guys learn how to grow, unboxing their products, showing you a bunch of cool things. So make sure you guys go subscribe to all of our channels while you're out there. Now, before we end the show, is a bunch of important information I want to tell everybody about today. Charlotte Fiji Day, right? So if anybody doesn't know who Charlotte is, Charlotte's Web, CBD, one of the real inspirations for medical cannabis, CBD really becoming a forefront of people's conversations. Today is her day. They're having a huge celebration here at 8 o'clock this evening. So you have a couple hours. What they're doing is the Realm of Karen is hosting a musical event in essence, right? So they're going to raise money. They're going to have a celebration. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, Charlotte had passed on us recently. So it's been something very difficult for the family to deal with and to work through. So this is something for them. So if you guys have a minute tonight, please, everybody go tune in. You can find it on the Realm for Karen page, or Realm of Karen, sorry, page. And it's going to be great. It's called Rock the Rock. So huge shout out to her. Much love for her. And we'll take a second of silence for her because, again, a lot of this isn't really done without her. So if you guys can go support that, please do. Then also the 420 Podathon giveaway, guys. So stay tuned for that. We'll give up more information on that tomorrow. We're going to get me and Sherry are probably going to work all night on this after her next show and get you guys all set up because, again, we have about 50 businesses. We have amazing giveaway. Sherry, tell me some of your favorites. I didn't even give you a chance to talk about it earlier.
My favorites, I'll tell you what my favorite is. Janet McAllister, you rule. I'm telling you, for sure. The Cannication, vacation, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, $710 value. Check in at 3 p.m. You get a 3-course full infused meal, gourmet style. They have a 420 lounge that has a vented system, a state-of-the-art vented system, a dab bar with 3 different types of concentrates, a cannabis bar with 3 different types of strains, goodie bags for every person that goes. They get their own goodie bag, they get their own pipe, they get their own infused. All meals are infused with either THC, CBD, or a combination of both. There's kayaking, there's a hot tub, there's hiking, and you get taken care of. You get all the cannabis that you want, and you get to have a relaxing vacation up in Maine. So I think that is like the bomb. So Janet McAllister, if you're out there, thank you so much for donating that. I think it's really exciting. I hope I win.
Yeah, exactly. Cannications, man. And what's really cool about this? Yeah, everybody, all you got to do is enter the contest. You get a number.
I'm entering.
Yeah, that's it.
Why
I
not?
think what we're going to do is
we make the rules.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Everybody who gets involved, everybody's allowed to be involved. It's not one of those things where a business donates and nobody from the business can get involved because there's a trick or a weird thing to it. No, there's no power. There's no pressure. There's nobody picking, numbers out of a hat. We're going to do it all randomly. We're going to be very transparent about it. And what's really cool and unique about it is if you decide, like most of these guys who donate products are going to call in for us, explain what their products are, talk about it a little bit, and then they're going to pick the number. So it's just a random number that they're going to draw out of their head. So really it's a random, really luck's on your side if you win that, right? But what's cool about that vacation too is there's multiple other rooms available, right? There's a couple other rooms available. So if say you did win and you want to book another couple rooms for some friends and really go have a cannication in the woods of Maine, you could do that, right? So that is in Maine, guys. That is for this summer. Like Sherry said, we have tickets to the Harvest Cup. We have gift bags. Dirty Boys are giving $100 coupon to their website. We're giving free consultations out. We have Reiki classes that are going out. the milk carton grab bong is something that's pretty cool and unique. I'm really interested in. And then we just had a phone call with Tito Byrne from the Byrne Gallery right before the show, 2 minutes before we went live, who says he's going to top everybody's gift. So hopefully we'll see what happens there. We love these guys. So this is all coming together, guys. We have things coming in from all over the country, which is really cool and unique. So we want to thank everybody for supporting that, for supporting our shows.
And I've been reaching out to all the nurses too. So there's a lot of nurses in the cannabis space that I would love to get on, and they have some amazing products, 2 CBD products. Marijuana Mommy, she's amazing. She makes all kinds of glassware. So I'm reaching out to the girls now and see if they want to be a part of it. I think that they would really enjoy coming on.
Right. So if you are a company, you're tuned in right now, you want to be a part of what we're doing, and you think it sounds cool and unique, just PM me or Sherry. Let us know. You can get in at any time. We're just going to launch it tomorrow, so everybody gets a little promotion. You guys get to see what we're offering for the prizes and what you can get. Just amazing stuff, guys. I can't even tell you about all of it because I think I forgot about most of it. Like I said, genetics, keep collectors, like
spreadsheet, really long.
Yeah, right. So we're working on it, guys. So hopefully you guys will love it. We have a couple THC edibles. We have some CBD edibles. So it's really, if you want to get involved, you want to ship to you, we can do that. But the best part is, say you don't like the gift you win, we'll have this Yankee Swap Meet group page after that. So you can go swap, you can go have some fun. It could be interested. Maybe you can throw some of your own genetics and seeds on top of things. Who knows what's going to happen? It's 420, right? It's like our cannabis new year. That's the way I'm looking at it, especially after this long year of COVID. I can't wait.
The other thing too, Joe, is that if there's companies that are out there that want to have us to consume their products, we'd be more than happy to do that because we're researchers.
Yes, we have the different reviews we can consume and update and let everybody know what we're smoking on when we're go live. We don't mind doing that at all by any means, but no, it's going to be a really exciting event. I'm totally stoked. And next week, I just pull off another amazing guest. I'm really kind of fathomed and honored for this one. We're going to have Mike Weiss on. So if you guys don't know who Mike Weiss is, he's probably one of the biggest cannabis podcasters out there, right? He has a huge following on the internet. He does all sorts of shows, and he's the one that put together the Cannabis Awards that we were all nominated for here on In the Weeds and for Sherry at the Green Nurse, right? So we're going to be having an award celebration here soon. The awards start on 420. So we're going to have him come in next week to talk about what he does, why he does what he does, and all about the Cannabis Activism Award. So it's really cool to have Mike on the show. He's been another huge inspiration for me, especially doing what we do here online and teaching people. If you guys don't know who Mike Weiss is or the Mike Weiss Show is, go find him, because 500,000 other people have, you know what I mean? So we're gonna have him on the show next week, and then the following week we're gonna have Sam Miserandino back on, who is the Addicted Animal book series, guys. He's launching the If You Give a Dog a Doobie. It comes out on 420, so hopefully he's giving a couple of these books away in our podcast. He's going to give away a couple books for the 420 thing, so it'll be a cool show. And then at the end of the month, we're going to wrap it up with a really unique Vermont kind of panel. What we're trying to do is get a bunch of Vermont businesses on board with hemp and cannabis and talk about all the issues that they have faced, talk about issues of sustainability in our state, talk about the issues of the last few years. We're just going to talk about a lot of things in Vermont. So we're going to go back to Vermont. We're going to talk about farming. We're going to hit the grassroots guys, and we're going to have a panel. So if you guys want to get involved in the panel, you're a business in Vermont, let me know. We'll have you guys join us. And we're just going to have a big open debate about hemp and laws and what we can do and what we can't do, and about the issues that these guys have seen. Like we just talked now, it's not easy to open up a business. It's not easy to convert a farm. It's not easy to take a cash crop and go to hemp, especially if you don't have the experience and knowledge, or like we've all said here, the financial backing, right? Because like any other business in any other industry, you got to stay afloat for a year. What Danny was saying earlier, what they were doing in New York was the same thing they did in Massachusetts. They're making people sit on buildings for 3 years, and they're just paying out their ears on stuff that they can't even make money back on yet. So a lot of interesting stuff, guys. Stay tuned for the 420 awards. We'll be posting up tomorrow. Go check out Charlotte Fiji tonight. But before you do that, you got to check out Sherry and her show. She's got a great show tonight with Carrie S. Clark, who wrote another amazing book, who I believe is also part of our 420 giveaway.
Yeah, we go to the realm of caring first. Ours is going to be recorded, so go give the tribute to Charlotte Fiji. She's really, really important, and then you can come watch our show after. Sure. Yeah,
well, Carrie S. Clark.
Dr. Carrie Clark was one of the past president of the American Cannabis Nurses Association, and she wrote Clark's Cannabis, a Handbook for Nurses. It's the first cannabis nursing textbook to be published in the United States, and all cannabis nurses wrote it. And yours truly participated in writing chapter 9. So it was really exciting, the cannabis nurse experience.
Yes, so we're really excited. That Carrie's awesome.
That's
It's a very important book. Like Sherry was saying, it's one of the first books really dedicated to the medical viewing of cannabis. Right. It's a really great guide for any medical professional, whether you're in cannabis or not. It's something that everybody should have on their table. Right. So check out the show. Make sure you check out Sherry. We'll check you out, Sherry. We'll watch you guys. And guys, next week, Mike Weiss. The week after, 420, right? And the week after that, we'll do our Vermont little panel here. But it sounds like we're gonna have a lot of fun, guys. Stay tuned, stay close, stay tuned for the different views reviews. Stay tuned for Obi Weed Kenobi and Nurse Sherry with the Green Nurse on the Grow. We're hopefully gonna start launching episodes after right on 420, guys. That's my goal. As long as we can pull this all off. We're just waiting for one important piece of technology to come in so we can manage all these videos. And that might have been what my dogs were barking at a little while ago. So hopefully that's here. We can proceed with all that stuff. And guys, again, thank you for another great show. Justin, Obi, Timothy, Sherry, I love you guys. First of all, before we let everybody go, tell everybody where they can find you. We'll start with Justin on my right.
Yeah, you can find us on thebudgrower.com or facebook.com/thebudgrower. Or if you're on Instagram, check us out on at the Bud Grower Shop. @ the Bud Grower Shop.
Yeah, I saw that change recently, by the way. So
we did. We had to. We got shut down because yeah. So we had to move over.
Yeah. So you guys, as much as we think social media and all this stuff is free and unique and fun and fair, we still have people trying to shut us down. Like us, we can't go to Facebook right now because we're considered
weed.
No, we're considered. What was the term, Sherry? Abusive. There we go. We're considered abusive. So unfortunately, that's the way our world works right now, which is really sad, especially with legalization on the forefront of everybody's conversations. You would think that Facebook and these social media platforms would allow us to have our free speech and to talk about these things freely, but unfortunately we can't. We're still trying. We're still here, guys. So as much as we try to do the workarounds, just stay with us. Obi Weed Kenobi, where can people find you, man?
Look me up on Facebook, right at Obi Weed Kenobi, or you can find me at kenobigrow.com.
If you guys ever wondered if you can grow a flowering plant out of a solo cup, there's a few pictures, and Kevin would love to talk to you about that because a lot of people say it can't be done. But we did it. He did it. I've seen it. I've smelt it. I've touched it. I've loved it. I've hugged her. And hopefully soon I'm going to smoke her.
It's not for a beginner, even though it's a small plant and people look at it as, oh, it's just a little plant. It should be easy. It's not easy at all. It's by far the most difficult plant I've grown in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is too, if you think about it, it's in a cup and the plant is like that tall.
Well, everybody just seems to forget that cannabis doesn't want to be small. It doesn't want a small pot. It wants to get huge.
Yes. It wants to be a tree.
Out of the cup, for sure.
It's a plant that wants to be a tree, man. And we've seen him out west with some of the great grows, like the Mendo Dope guys. And I'm sure Justin has gone out and seen some of these friggin' trees that produce 13 pounds of weed. It's fucking phenomenal. Yeah. And here we are dragging ounces off of ours going, what the fuck are we doing wrong? Right. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, guys. Stay tuned for that episode. Obi Weed Kenobi it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a great episode. I'm really glad and proud of what we've accomplished here so far. And like I said, we'll get that going for you guys here soon too. Timothy Fair, Vermont Cannabis Solutions. I hear a rumor that our lunches are starting again.
That is first week of May. We are so excited about it too. We're gonna be at the Zen Barn. We're really hoping to get a good turnout. We're going to be outdoors. We're going to be paying for everybody's lunch, getting a bunch of burgers. Noah's going to be cooking them up. And we're really excited to get as many people in the community back out. It's been a year. We haven't been doing our luncheons in so long. And we're just so excited about everything kind of happening and how fast it's moving forward here in Vermont. So everybody come out. I'd love to see everybody. First Wednesday, I think it's May 5th. Zen Barn in Waterbury, open to all, and we're hoping to have a really, really nice turnout to kick it off again. And then we're going to be starting every month. If you can't make May, we'll be doing it again in June. We'll get doing it again in July. Anybody who wants to speak, we're always looking for speakers. Anyone who wants to just come, network, hang out, have some good food, love to see it.
You don't want to put me up there, man. Right. I want to speak, but you probably don't want me on stage. I'll never get off.
We'd love to have you, Joe.
I'll just be like, what's up, guys? No, it's a great event, guys. It's a safe event, which is really cool because you guys did a few of these through COVID. Zen Barn's an amazing place. They're a huge supporter of all things cannabis as well. If you guys go check those guys out, they do music, they do events, and they're going to be doing the luncheons as well. So, and last but not least, Sherry, where can we find you?
www.thegreennurse.com. We're on Facebook, The Green Nurse, Instagram, The Green Nurse, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you again for another great week, another great episode. Huge shout out to Danny Danko. Sorry he couldn't stay around for the whole show, but he's taping his own show as well. Huge honor for him to be on our show. Guys, if you want to check out any of our archives, please go to our YouTube page. And again, 2020, the 420 event will be posted tomorrow. So stay tuned for all that information. Love you guys. And we'll see you soon. Talk to you guys next week.
Great week, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.